This is the cheapest kitchen island base you are gonna find, and this is how we're gonna make it cute. This just in, the Sorry Girls are working on an upcoming makeover, and this particular makeover is begging for a custom kitchen island. And coming up in this episode, you will find out what happens when my custom island build is too heavy. So my TaskRabbit gentleman decided to cancel the booking, and Kelsey and Becky's honest reaction of my build.
We never get moments like this.
Never. Over to you, Rochelle. Could I be a news anchor? Now, in the makeover space, there is already a kitchen island, but it's not in the best shape, and it's definitely not working for the new design of the space. So we're thinking of combining two things that we've been seeing a lot of lately, and that is stainless steel and tile. So we're gonna start with a stainless steel kitchen prep table that I was able to find off of a posting on Facebook Marketplace, and it was unused and it came in a box. So I was able to put it together to really get a feel for how sturdy it is and how it all comes together. There actually were quite a few of these that I could find secondhand, and it really wasn't that expensive. Mine happened to come from an industrial kitchen supply store. So I did look on Marketplace for secondhand tile options as well, and there were some fun choices out there, but just based on the mood board that Kelsey and Becky had compiled, we were looking for a smaller format, square tile, but not so small that they were like those mosaic ones that come on sheets. Or if I could find something like that, there just definitely wasn't enough for this particular project. But after heading out in person to 10 different tile retailers, I was able to find these really pretty denim-y blue 4x4 square Zalige tiles, and they've got that perfectly imperfect look. So with my table and my tile sourced, I had to come up with a plan. You might also be wondering where I am at the moment, and I'm actually in my living room. We rearranged the furniture a little bit so that I can be working on this project right here. And that's because the basement stairs down to the workshop have a tight turn and they're not that wide. I just don't see how I'm gonna be able to lift a heavy tiled table, and it sounds like a nightmare. So I'm actually gonna be doing this in my living room. How relatable is that? Funnily enough, all of the other Sorry Girls have done a tiled table project in the past in one form or another, so I'm very excited to be joining the ranks as a table tiler on this channel. Here's my issue though. For all of those other projects, those ladies actually constructed the base of their project based off of the size of the tiles that they had. What I'm starting with here is an existing structure with existing dimensions, and it's made out of metal, not wood. It also has a shelf at the bottom that I need to account for, so I am thinking that there is, unfortunately, some math in my future. I think the right move here is to build a three-sided box out of some plywood around the legs. Add strapping to the inside of the legs to enclose the frames, cover the framing in cement board, and then tile directly onto that cement board. I'm excited, I'm with it. Let's do it. Good morning, you guys. I'm about to start another day of DIYing, and for me, that almost always means getting a little bit sweaty. So I want to give a shout out to Wild for partnering with us on today's video and for keeping me fresh for the next 24 hours. Wild's one-of-a-kind reusable aluminum cases and wide array of scents in their compostable refills means they've saved over 1.6 million pounds of single-use plastic from ending up in the landfill, which is a fantastic reason to switch if you haven't already. You want to know how to swap out the refills? Well, I got you. First, you're going to wind the case right down, slide the bottom out of the case, remove the used refill, and slot the new refill into position. Push the bottom with the refill on it back into your case, twist up, and you're ready to use. There are lots of different case colors and designs to choose from, as well as seasonal and limited scents in addition to their classic ones. So my deodorant is a fun and customizable part of my morning routine because I love when practical meets fun. I love that Wild uses shea butter in their deodorant for that creamy texture that's Leaping Bunny and vegan certified, so I can feel good applying it and feel good about wearing it. If you want to discover more about Wild and try some for yourself, you can get 20% off of Wild's refillable deodorant, body wash, lip balm, and hand wash by using our code TheSorryGirls with the link in the description or by scanning the QR code. But do not wait because it won't last long. Okay, I don't really know how today's DIYing is going to go, but I do know that I'm going to feel fresh while doing it. Tiling is definitely not something that's new to the Sorry Girls, but me personally, I don't really have any experience with tiling beyond that one quick, small-scale table lamp project. I ruined it, right? I am nervous. I mean, while it's always exciting to acquire a new skill, I'm just sitting here thinking of all the ways I could mess this up. The challenge I'm working with is that all of the layers combined need to fit within the dimensions of the tabletop. We don't want anything sticking out. I'm just figuring out whether the 1/2-inch plywood, the 1/4-inch cement board, the layer of thin-set mortar, and the tile thickness will all still fit under the edge. And it does. So now we can start by building out the boxes for the legs, which I'm just focusing on building 3 sides so that I can add more structure on the inside and figure out how to attach the framing to the legs. On the underside, we are working with some bump outs that the plywood needs to butt up against. So I'm using my contour gauge to get the exact shape. Of course, you can just measure it out, but this saves my brain sometimes. Then I'm making a test to see if it fits properly. And it does. Yes! So now I can trace this onto my plywood. Now, time to cut this side down to size. I'm using my table saw, but you can totally use a circular saw with a straight edge here as well. For the small side pieces, I'm ripping them from a larger piece of plywood and then cutting them to the right length. To join these 3 sides together, I'm making pilot holes and then joining them together using wood screws. Oh, we're getting there. Okay, so as you can see, I've got 3 sides of each of my legs framed out, but I do still plan to do kind of more of a strapping idea for the framing on the inside portion of the leg. However, before we get to that, I was wanting to address how we're attaching these table legs to this table, because as you might be able to tell, this is just loose. It's a free-floating piece of wood, and even when I frame it in on the inside, it still won't be attached. I have some thoughts. So you might have noticed these little bits of plywood that I've got under each of the feet. That is because I do plan on putting a bottom on these little leg sleeves, and that's going to help lift the entire thing up when you lift the table. But if it's not attached to the tabletop itself, that's not gonna work. My first thought, there are these little lips where the legs attach to the table and the shelf, and I thought if I could actually put some strapping underneath those lips that are attached to the wood, that would also help to lift the entire leg once you lift the table. Problem is I don't have the strapping or screws that are short enough to not go through my 1/2-inch plywood. So that means I need to take a quick trip to the hardware store to pick up what I need. It's so quiet here at this time of the day. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so I got my strapping, but I need screws that aren't gonna go through the other side of my plywood. I need something with a flat back or like a pan head, so then that's gonna hold the strapping down, but it's not gonna go through the plywood. Right? Let's do this. After cutting a bunch of pieces of my steel strapping down to size, I'm securing them into place. And holy, this made such a difference. You guys, I have this thing strapped all the way up. I've got 4 straps on each leg, a ton of screws in there, and you know what? This feels so sturdy. I don't think it's going anywhere. I'm a friggin' genius. Okay, with that done, I just need to finish off the framing, and that'll be it for the day. Ah, I love it. Sturdy as all get out. Okay, you guys, I just know that what took me hours of figuring out and cutting and nailing and screwing and everything, only gonna be like 2 minutes in the edit. And you know what? That's fine. And now we can move on to the part that I'm actually more nervous about, which is tiling. But to start with, I'm actually going to cover all the sides that I did with cement board. So I'm gonna be using a product called Hardy Board, which in my case is a 1/4-inch thick cement board. There were 1/2-inch thick cement board options, but especially since adding the plywood to the framing, I really wanna reduce weight. So I'm gonna go with a thinner material. This product seems great because you should just be able to use the score and snap method. Oh! Ah! Okay, I like it. Now, you may be thinking, Rochelle, why aren't you just tiling onto the plywood? Why do you need to do this extra step? The short answer is that wood and water don't mix. The thin-set mortar I will be using to adhere the tiles to the legs has water in it, and we run into the issue of the plywood potentially sucking so much moisture out of the mortar that the tiles won't stick properly. And this is the last thing I want to happen after putting in all this work. I want this island to last the test of time. Hey! Oh, thank God. Also, I'm attaching the cement boards to the frame using special cement board screws. Woo! My goodness. Guys, that took so many hours. I don't know if I ever want to do that again. Let's tile in the morning. Good morning, you guys. I think we are almost ready to tile. I thought we'd get a little bit further yesterday, so I wore my really messy pants for the mortar. We didn't end up getting to the tile. So I put my messy pants on again today. I hope you guys don't mind. But since we are just a little bit behind, I'm gonna stop talking and start tiling. How about that? Yeah, all right, let's do it. But first we need to cover all the seams in the cement board with this seam tape. Were there instructions? Wipe down drywall with a damp cloth. Ooh, okay. This is for cement board. Self-adhesive tape for seaming most types of cement backboard. Great. So it looks like this. So it turns out this stuff won't stick on its own around the corners. It needs a little help. So I had to break out the thin-set mortar early, and that did the trick. So it is officially time to add our first tile. I'm telling you guys, I am nervous, but there's only one way through it, but to do it. Is that the saying? There's only one way through it, but to do it. Something like that. I've got my notch trowel all ready to go. But I always did wonder why even use a notch trowel? Like, what is the purpose of these little teeth? So having the notches means that you are applying an even layer of your adhesive. Only that adhesive that can make it through the spaces remains, which means you get an even layer. So I also bought a bunch of 1/16 inch tile spacers, but after playing around with the spacing and the tile, I think I'm actually gonna go for more of a groutless look to these tiles, which is popular with the Zalige style tiles. So basically, I'm not gonna use any of the spacers, and I'm just gonna freehand the tile application. And you'll notice the part that's being scraped with these little teeth, there will be little to no adhesive left. And that is creating air channels, which means when you go to squish your tile down in the adhesive, the air has a place to escape, and you get the best possible squish beneath the tile for the best possible bond. Sometimes mathing and what happens in reality aren't exactly lined up, because I did end up having to trim the tiles just a bit at the sides to make them fit. Okay, so I've officially grouted one row of tiles. Did I end up making more cuts than I thought I would have to make? Maybe. Are they different cuts than I thought I'd have to make? Maybe. Am I gonna need more mortar? Almost definitely, but it's all been a learning experience. Hopefully, with this first row in place, everything else will come together. With one possible exception. When ordering tile for a project, especially when you're having to order per square foot or like a complete box as opposed to buying individual tiles, they always recommend that you have a contingency of about 10% extra tiles. And I'm pretty sure that I calculated that going into my project. However, after counting the boxes and the loose tiles that I received, I think I might be a little bit short. This might be a sorry lesson, or a modified sorry lesson on one Kelsey's already taught. When you're buying things, make sure you check the size when you get there. Well, that applies to quantity as well, because I ordered 28 square feet of tile. I am at about 26.3, which doesn't sound like a huge difference, but that's basically my entire contingency. So if anything goes wrong, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I would really like to get my hands on those tiles. I'm gonna go ahead and call the flooring supplier, because something's not right. Hi, I'm calling to check and see if some tile came in for me today. Oh no. So it turns out that I am missing some tiles from my order, and they had been special ordered in, so I'm gonna have to wait while they check to see if they have them at the store. I have to bring this island to set in a couple of days, so I'm crossing my fingers that it all works out. Anyways, back to tiling in the meantime. Okay, it's coming along, and honestly, it's actually looking incredible. I am in love with this tile, and I think it's gonna look fantastic when it's done, but I need to get it done. So you may have noticed that I have been using a wet tile saw. I think that you could use a manual tile cutter for this style of tile, but there's a couple reasons why I chose not to go with that. One, I'm not currently in possession of the one that was at the office, and two, the last time I saw that one being used didn't exactly go to plan.
Nina. Literally Nina.
3, I just really like power tools. And 4, I thought that I was going to be mitering the corners of some of the tiles. That doesn't seem to be what's happening at the moment. However, that was part of the thought process that went into this decision. So for the price of buying one of those manual tile cutters new, my home improvement store does a 1-day rental for wet tile saws. So I thought, why not? While I'm in the middle of trying everything else new for tiling, try out a wet tile saw. And I'm pretty happy with it. Okay guys, great news, the tiles are there. So I am gonna go pick them up because I would rather have them than not. Yes. And now time to tile into the night as the mortar needs to dry for hours so I can grout tomorrow. And then bring it to set the next day because everything needs to set up before I even think about moving it. You guys, I am absolutely wrecked. I'm filthy, I am exhausted. It is almost 2 a.m. That being said, I'm gonna tidy up my tools and go to bed. And hopefully all these tiles stay up. We'll see. Good night, guys. Thank the DIY gods that we were able to get our hands on that missing tile, but we're not quite done yet because even though we're going for a sort of groutless look with the tiles really, really close together, I do still need to add some grout because there are little gaps, and that's also going to help give it that structural integrity. I decided to go with a little bit higher quality, a little bit more expensive grout because I wanted it to have that strength and flexibility. What's really nice about this grout is that it says never needs sealing, which is awesome because that is one more step that myself and the future owner of this table do not need to worry about. Okay, today's the day that we move this table to its future home. I am in no way strong enough to lift this up, so I've hired 2 TaskRabbits.
A few moments later.
So my taskers showed up, took one look at the island, and said they couldn't take the risk to move it with their setup, which is actually fair. It's super heavy, and I'm glad they were honest with me. They did suggest I make a frame for it to make it easier for the next guys to move, and then they left. So we had to last minute find a professional moving company with the availability to move this thing today. We ended up finding one that could do it, so while I wait for them, I am gonna cover this thing and build that frame around it to hopefully make it easier to lift and also for extra protection. Doesn't even look like a table anymore. And just like that, for you guys at least, the table made it there safely. Let's get this thing uncovered and then I can reveal it to Kelsey and Becky.
We never get moments like that.
Never.
Do you remember what the old island looked like in the space? Kind of boring, not, cool enough for this cool girl page. In 3, 2, 1, open your eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, I love
Rochelle. It's beautiful.
That is
Thank you.
sickening.
I imagine this was not easy.
But I learned so much so that I can't even be mad because now I feel like I could be a tiling expert.
I love the size of it. I love the color, the chonk legs. Look how good it looks from the side, like how much tile you get there. Yeah, this is lovely.
Thank you so much.
It's gorgy, gorgy. Good job, good job.
And if you want to see how this island looks with the rest of the space, in next week's video, Kelsey and Becky are making over the living area for their friend page in a cool girl style. I'm so excited to see how the space comes together. Bye!